I am Michael J. Mcvean, and this
is Lee Belland.
And we started Stream Realty Partners on August 26, 1996, and this is our 25th anniversary celebration.
So the beginning of the company started before 1996. In certainly my mind, Mike and I both got out of graduate school and went to work at Trammell Crow Company and sat side by side for 7 years as leasing agents with Trammell Crow Company, and through that period developed close relationship, a lot of trust, a lot of respect between each other, and me personally, I just always thought I would do something on my own, start a business. That's the only role models I had.
Well, to build on what Lee said about us working together, the environment that we were in at Trammell Crow Company, where we worked together before we started Stream, was competitive. It was you against everybody else. And Lee and I figured out really early on that didn't work well for us, that the two of us were together, working together, were much more powerful than either one of us alone. And neither one of us got anything from the other for helping the other. We just knew that we were better together than we were separately.
And the idea of starting Stream really was born out of we wanted to own real estate, where when we went to work at Trammell Crow Company, they were the world's largest developer. The 90s meltdown occurred, and so they became purely a brokerage company. So when we left to start Stream, we really started to invest in real estate. What we look like today is not what we looked like when we started the company. We just wanted to buy and build real estate, and then that morphed over time to the platform that we are today, which is a combination of an investment firm with a brokerage company and integrating of the two.
I forgot the name of the company. Good call on Shared Technologies. The name of the person was Kevin Schottlander. I can spell that. And Kevin was a colleague of ours from Trammell Crow Company that we knew when we were there, and he had left there and started this other company, and we were just good friends with him, so he hired us to do his tenant representation. I think we leased him a single-story flex space in Richardson.
Correct.
And yeah, we got the check, and we went to the bank and got $1, and we framed it, because my dad was a McDonald's franchisee, and I remember he had the first dollar that he made in his business framed, and I was like, well, that's what you're supposed to do when you start a business. You frame the first buck.
And
I don't know where the buck is now, but it's somewhere.
And neither of us had done tenant rep. We were leasing agents.
First tenant rep deal we ever
so
did.
that was the first tenant rep deal we ever did. And then the second piece of business we did was with a friend of mine, the Carmody Law Firm, which I remember, having Mike did most of the Shared Technologies deal, and I did that Carmody deal, and leased 15,000 feet in a Class A building in downtown Dallas. And I thought, wow, tenant rep, that is fast money, and we needed some fast money.
Why we wanted our first employee, I don't really remember that.
I remember that because we had bought a building. We started in September 96, bought a building in December of 96, and Mike and I were the leasing agents, we were the property managers, we were the accountants, the
engineers.
We did everything and had zero ability we were way over our skis. And we just needed help because we were trying to do other things, and so we decided we need somebody to help us do all those different things, and went to SMU and interviewed some.
Now we put up we posted a notice in the business school at SMU, because this is pre-internet, pre-social media, I don't know how you guys find people to work with us now, but back then you put a note on the business school at SMU. And I bet probably 4 to 6 kids applied for it, young people just graduating from college. And we talked to those 4 to 6 people. Todd was the last one, and we're like, there's our guy right there. And he's still with us now, 25 years later.
Which is awesome.
I think Luby was in high school when he
was.
interned with us. And Luby's mom and I are good friends. And so that's how I got to know Kyle. We got to know Kyle. And I don't remember what the heck he did when he was in high school here. After that, he came here and was very productive here, then went to Atlanta and did the same now as in Washington, D.C. But I wouldn't say that you and me had much to do with Stream having interns. I don't think that was ever. Somebody else brought that on later.
Yeah, I don't remember. The only thing I know about interns and hiring people early on was it was children of friends of ours and or people you knew, just in the industry, and that's really, somebody happened to call, and it was really Molly Rowbottom, when we hired her, that really took the recruiting and quality, not that Kyle's not quality, because we got really lucky on a lot of those fronts as well, but took it to a programmatic level that has really elevated the company and really helped us take it to the next level.
What we hear a lot from our people, the ones that have recently started and the ones that have been here for a long time, is, gosh, this company's culture is awesome. It's just the best. We love the culture. It's the main reason we're staying here. I'm thinking back to early days in Stream, 97, 98 maybe, when there was maybe a dozen of us. And the first person that said to us, hey, we're getting kind of big, I'm worried about the culture, there was 12 people. Right. That was Mark Parker in about 1998. He's like, you guys are getting spread kind of thin, and I'm worried about the culture. And now that 1,000 people, what we've learned is culture is pretty bulletproof. You'd have to go pretty hard to mess it up. Having said that, we also protect it like a mama bear. I don't know, sometime in the early 2000s, Lee and I thought, hey, we're doing great in office space in Dallas. It'd be great to get into industrial space too. Again, kind of going back to our Trammell Crow days, the office and industrial worked together back then, and we just kind of like industrial space as a place to provide services to landlords and tenants, and as a place to invest. And so one of our best buddies from Trammell Crow was an industrial person there, and he was and is awesome at industrial space. So we went to him. He's still at Trammell Crow, and we're like, hey, come with us and start our industrial business. He's like, no way, no thanks. I'm going somewhere that's actually got some resources. And I said, okay, if not you, who? And he says, call this guy. We'll call him Bob Smith. And so I called Bob Smith, and I talked to him a couple of times, and I was like, no, this isn't the right fit at all. But Bob Smith is pretty aggressive, and he kind of wants to do it. And he's like, hey, next meeting, let me bring the person I would propose as my junior person. And I'm like, okay, one more meeting. And so we go to one more meeting, which, by the way, was at Club Smith's, a great cheeseburger place over by Love Field that's not there anymore. And in walks Bob Smith and Chris Jackson. And I was like, love at first sight. The man looks like Superman, and I met him, and I was like, here's our guy. There was no interview process. I took him back, and I was like, hey, Lee, this guy's going to start our industrial program. And Lee's like, yeah, he looks like the right guy. So away we went.
And he crushed it. The Stream logo, here's what I remember about it, and I don't remember who created it, if we hired somebody, but the thing I remember about it is we definitely wanted the wave and wanted it to be blue to reflect a stream. And then what I thought was funny is Mike insisted upon it saying Stream Realty Partners, comma, L period, P period, because that's the legal name of the company, and his OCD wouldn't allow him to let it be anything other than that. And, and I thought it was fine. I just even have a logo seemed cool, but, and I look back at it now, and it just couldn't have been uglier and dumber and embarrassing.
Still looks the same. just doesn't have those words at the bottom.
It's
And
way
the
better.
lady that created it was we made contact with some little PR advertising agency in the
that's
West
right.
End.
Gave us a
and
lot
they,
of options.
And they gave us like their 22-year-old just hired person, and she was awesome.
Yeah.
And she came up with that. But I was insistent on putting the whole thing on there. Obstacles, I wouldn't say Lee and I have ever just stopped and thought, oh gosh, look how high that next hill is. That's an obstacle. We just keep going. I think we had some natural distractions. We had young kids. We wanted to, coach the teams and be involved. But we never ever looked at anything and said, oh, we can't fix that or we can't overcome it. And how we make decisions.
And, well, and I'll add to that. Just thinking about, and this is more sort of economic, the business side of what we do, is there's really been three, big economic, impacts during the last 25 years. One would be the dot-com meltdown of 2000, maybe the Great Recession of 2009, and then this pandemic. So
Not maybe, that was a big one.
So you look at that, and each one different, and the exposure as a company we had, and the things we were actually doing at the time, it creates a lot of fear. So you think about that, but it really is, how many great quotes are there about when the going gets tough, and so you just keep working every day. And I can tell you, you get through those obstacles, and they seem difficult as you face them. But one, you learn from them, and two, if you just keep working hard, I can't tell you the number of times when we're trying to do some new business, enter a new, whatever, new customers, and when they go talk to your references, that's the first thing that comes up. It's like, things looked really bad. There really wasn't money for these people to be making, but they kept trying. If there is an activity, they came up with new ideas to create activity. If the investment, the company's out of its interest because the value's gone down, we kept trying, and we never gave up and moved on to something that might be, you put your customers first, their capital first, and that, like I've heard countless times, that's what people respect most about you is when it's not easy, you work even harder and communicate better.
That reminds me of the story that when we cornered Mr. Crow at the cocktail party at his house, 2 or 3 years after we started the company. Trammell Crow, the person, was me and Lee's, still is, business idol, not just real estate idol, but business idol. And we got invited to a cocktail party at his house, and we saw an opening to go over and sit down and talk with him. His wife, Margaret, said, hey, yep, okay, you can go talk to Trammell now. And we sat down with him, and he's just hammering us with questions, mostly real estate fundamentals. What are you borrowing? Are you signing guarantees? These kind of things. And we're scrambling for answers, giving him as much feedback as soon as we can, and he kind of stopped and he thought for a second, and we're like, well, Mr. Crow, what advice do you have for us? Which way should we go? And he said, sounds like you're doing just fine. You need to get up every morning, put your pants on, and go to work. And we're like, okay. And that's what we've done.
Yeah.
The broker that we bought the first one from, John Robinson. He said, hey, I have this other one. And that I can sell you. And we had been looking at the other one, which was 1355 Riverbend, and we wanted it. It was an empty 3-story, 82,000-foot building that with some extra land around it that we could buy and create more parking and make a call center out of it. And call centers were really hot at the time. And the owner of that building was a man named Don Goldman, who is an old
writer, and he was an author.
Well, he had been a real estate guru, just a real savvy Dallas real estate person, and he had become a novelist. And so he was selling his real estate and focusing on his writing. And I remember Christmas of '97, Lee always went to his dad's house in Florida for Christmas, And Don Goldman was at $2.9 million, I think, and we were at $2.8 million. And Lee knew that he was leaving the fox in charge of the hen house, and so when he left, he said, "Do not pay more than $2.8 million for that building. Do not offer him any more than $2.8 million. If he doesn't take that, we'll figure it out when I get back from Christmas." And I called him up and I said, "What do you take, dude? Let's get this on." So we bought it. We paid $2,850,000. No, I thought it was $2,817,500.
Could have been.
That was a long time ago. We did that deal with our old Trammell Crow friends from Austin, Hill Partners, and you can take it from there.
Yeah, so Don Goldman, very wily guy. It was a fully leased building. It had about 9 months left on the lease, and he wanted to collect every last rent check
from U.S. Life.
From U.S. Life for 9 months, and then after that last month, hand the keys over to us and let us own this empty building on Stemmons. And we were happy with that because that gave us 9 months to go find some money to go buy it.
And a replacement tenant.
And market the building and that sort of thing. So yeah, we had, and we also didn't have the earnest money, so that's where Hill Partners came in. And so we were marketing the building, and I think you put an ad in the Wall Street Journal for the building, which I thought was silly.
No, you told me not to do it because it cost $400.
Right, so we put an ad in the Wall Street Journal saying we got an 82,000-foot building. It was answered by Alex Zakakis, who works for Capstone Advisor, but it's really CS First Boston's money. And so he rolls into town and we said, you know, we'll sell this to you for $4,150,000, something in that neighborhood. And you know, here's our closing date, and they did it, and so, you know, we scraped, you know, just over $1 million and never had to put any money into it. And then, but we were retained by First Boston to lease and manage the project, and so then we needed to hire some leasing people. I think that's when Tim Terrell came on board, and he was the leasing agent for that building. We probably needed some property management. I don't remember Rebecca.
No, Melinda.
Melinda. Yeah, she was the property manager.
Our first property manager. She knew nothing about property management either.
Right. And
she knew less than we did.
And so anyway, it turned out to be a successful project.
Well,
we managed it.
And when this is pre-internet, pre-signing documents with PDFs and Adobe, whatever that stuff is. And so when we sold that building from us to CS First Boston as a simultaneous close, a real flip, a literal flip. It closed at the Crescent right over here. The closers, that lady's name was Jeannie Ragland.
Yeah.
Me and Lee are sitting at one end of the table signing the documents to buy the building from Don Goldman, and then another end of the table signing the documents to sell the building to CS First Boston. And the difference was $1.5 million or so.
$1.3 million.
$1.3 million. And Ms. Ragland said to us, "Would you like me to wire this to your accounts? Give me your wiring information." I said, "Ma'am, I want you to write us a cashier's check and hand it to us right now." And she said, "All right, I'll be right back." And she comes back with a cashier's check for $1.3 million made out to Stream Realty Partners. And me and Lee are just like, "Let's get out of here, man, before anybody catches us." And we walked out of her office. We walked outside the Crescent, and he said, "Well, what are we going to do?" And I said, "We're going to put in a big dip. We're going to walk all the way around the triangular block that is the Crescent, and then we're going to go back to work." And that's exactly what we did. Cheers to 25 years.
25 years.